So today I'm joined by Reuben McManus, who is a former member of the Defence Forces and is now the Health and Safety Manager with the Irish Distillery.
That's right, yeah. Fox and Geese up the road there.
Yeah. How long were you in for? 24 years?
Yeah, I've done 24 years, so I joined as an apprentice in the old Army Apprentice School in Naas, that's now knocked down where the Osprey Hotel now sits itself. Went in purely as an apprentice carpenter. Yeah.
Do you miss it now that you're out, or?
There's certain aspects that you miss, the army humour, you have to watch your P's and Q's a little bit more. Certain elements I don't miss about it as well, you know. So, but I think I'd be very kind of clear. I think there's certain stages in your life, you know, and I think the army was a really good stage for me. Really, really enjoyed it, and it was time to move on.
Okay. Well, after 24 years,
yeah.
Kicking you out. I'm only messing. But you went in as an apprentice, right? Was the army always an appealing career to you, or was it just the?
I had no interest in ever joining the army, so I was just into sport growing up. My father was an electrician. I wanted to have a trade, and after my intercert, I'm showing my age here, an intercert rather than junior cert. I wanted to do a trade, and I applied for all the different trade technique schemes, Aer Lingus and everything, and I got the Army Apprentice School, and I got CIE, and I chose to go to the Army Apprentice School. And it was only after I actually got accepted to the Apprentice School I discovered that two of my uncles, one of them had, I think it was the 6th platoon in Naas he'd been in, and another uncle of mine had been in the Air Corps as an apprentice fitter, but I only discovered that after the event. So I know a lot of guys you talk to would have a family kind of thing where the Defence Forces was part of their kind of, you know, the blood. Not in my case whatsoever. No. I had absolutely no idea what I was getting myself into for.
You went employed. And the whole signing up process, as an apprentice, right? It's probably very different to how you join as an enlisted person. What do you have to achieve before you can fill in the application to join as an apprentice?
Yeah, so at the time, look, they'd look at your academic results there, how you done in your exams. You went through 2 sets of interviews and then your medical and everything else. I think for me, it was mainly about me football and credentials and me sporting credentials. I think the truth be told, rather than my academic stuff that probably got me in. But I'd hair down the middle of me back, going in as a young fella, and I was saying to you, Conor, I had absolutely no idea what I was getting myself in for. And then turned up on the 17th of August 1992, kind of with the other guys, and genuinely didn't know what to expect, what I was going into. Had a certain kind of, I suppose, general idea that you'd have what to expect, but it was completely different. And I suppose you're right, it's completely different than the normal enlisted recruit training in there. I suppose a very hostile place at the time. I know some older guys that went through Naas would have very kind of fond memories of the place. It was definitely a very hostile place when I was there,
Do you remember your first day going in?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
What was that like? Do you think you've obviously seen people joining on the first day of years. Is it very different for apprentices joining on the first day?
Not really. It's a normal thing, the people to meet you at the gate. So it was the third years made the first years at the gate, and it just happened that there was a guy from Dooley coming from Navan originally, just up the road. Kind of met me at the gate, and it ended up being another guy from Navan as well, that was there in the third year as well. So I suppose them guys helped me settle a little bit, and then you the natural thing, you go, you swear your oath, and then you're off to your business, and then you meet the rest of the guys there. So look, I think it was 35 of us joined, I think, the first day. Some guys came and went, but we ended up with a group of 37 for the 3 years in Naas.
Oh, okay, so a big enough group.
It is, and
when you first go in, right, so you do an element of military training at the very start, That's your 2-3-star course, isn't it?
It's kind of brought in, so you do initially with 7 to 8 weeks, very initial training, march and some stuff in the Glen, but your kind of 2-star training is broken down over all the kind of 3 years. So you do 1 day a week where you're doing pure military training, and then every time there's a break kind of in the semester, so for Easter holidays from the schools, you'd go into your military training group then, and then the summer holidays, which meant, you know, your 2 section sets of what you call it, sets the Glen, and doing scratch twice and the whole lot of it. But you also had 3 years basically of the whole up, getting ready for inspection routine every single morning, which probably wore a lot of guys down as regards military and their enjoyment of it.
Yeah. Did that happen every day as an apprentice?
Every single day, yeah. So, you know, the normal thing, up 7 bells, you know, you were inspected kind of by torchlight for shave and everything else, and then you had the same thing at lunchtime, and then you had a study parade in the evening then as well, and then there was obviously the room inspections and everything else that went with it, you know.
Jeez. Okay, so you're kept on your toes. And did everyone that joined, right, the whole 37 that you ended up with, were they all carpenters or were they different trades?
No, see, they're different trades. So there was carpenters, there was electricians, we'd radio technicians, we'd fitters, and then we'd motor mechanics, you know. And you know, in fairness, some really, really good technicians, and some guys done really, really well out of it, you know. So yeah, it was a general mix there as well. Yeah, and we just went on and we've done our trades and we've done pretty well, yeah.
So, right, so when you do like a civilian trade, right, you go on to building sites and that's how you learn, getting in the neck or whatever, like that, and you're on your own, right? How do you kind of learn the practical side of things, like in the army? You're just on site, like in one of the workshops, is it? Yeah,
so look, they'd have a decent sized workshop, and then they'd create projects for you around the barracks or into the corps or whatever like that. And the majority of your time, your first kind of 2.5 years, is kind of very much in the apprentice school, with your experience being led when you go to engineers. I was in engineers in Clancy at the time, where you get your experience, or you'd be detached to the corps, or you'd be detached to Cork, or whatever's been done over there. So it mainly focused 2.5 years kind of, you know, I'd say classroom workshop type stuff, and then you had a full year kind of on the job, on the tools, but you'd probably have about 6 months down with some big projects around the place that you'd be involved in doing. Yeah,
well, interesting. And then when it's time to go like to college, let's say, or whatever, I know you're doing classroom and but are you in a FOSS like with civilians?
No, so all the classes and everything else were done basically in the barracks itself. So there was some military, some civilian instructors in there, and that was their full role, about the same as FOSS, and you went in every morning at 9 o'clock, and then you left kind of at 4 o'clock or whatever, but you had them for was it 4 days a week then with that as well, all through the 3 years,
Okay, so you kept your toes. And what does the study parade, the evening time, look like for like an apprentice? Is that like where you get your books and you're able to sit down and sleep?
Well, no, so pretty much, Connor. So then you know, at times you'd be made actually parade the same in the morning, and you'd be inspected, and then you'd have to march over. Other times, if you'd a cushy enough NCO, we just say, look, make sure you're over, but you're checked, like, to make sure you're studied. And when you went into third year, because you're deemed as being a little bit more mature, you had a choice of whether you went to study parade or whether you did, but you had all your exams then to do there as well. But yeah, like, so we one evening off a week. Wednesday evening used to be the one evening where, you know, we'd be able to go down to town. Like we weren't allowed out to town. Like, we were confined to barracks the whole time.
For the whole 3 years?
For the whole 3 years, yeah. So confined to barracks the whole 3 years. You got out on a Wednesday, and you know, and you'd have to be back 59 hours. You'd have to be back. The same on the Sunday, and then you had a certain amount of closed weekends where you didn't get out at all. Certain amount where you go out the Saturday afternoon, and then you'd normally have back in as well. So look, if you played sports, you get the letter from the club and you say such and such a match or whatever, and you get home the weekend. But everything was about getting home there, and to be honest with you, they'd scratch that weekend pass at a drop of a hat for you.
Okay, they played sports. Because they like the sport, right?
Very much, yeah.
And so the 3 years are done, right? You have you're qualified then as a carpenter. You move into the ordnance corps.
No, so it was an engineer's course.
You stay in engineers for a while.
Yeah. So it was based in the corps first in McDermott, right there for a while. I was in the workshops there and various around as well. And then I went to Clancy Barracks then, so I was based with engineers in Clancy Barracks then for a couple of years until that closed then, and then I went back to the Corps with Ordnance then after that then. So yeah, so I suppose my career is probably a little bit different than a lot of guys
very
in that. A lot of guys go in to stay in one corps or one battalion in the war. I was lucky enough that I was kind of nearly able to reinvent myself. So
Yeah.
I was in engineers, really enjoyed that, learned loads, and then I got the opportunity with Clancy Barracks closing to go to the Curragh
Right.
and go to Ireland, and then learned loads, and got to work with some really, really good guys then, and then moved on to the Air Corps, got an opportunity to go to the Air Corps then as well. So yeah.
And ordnance, that's like the bomb squad and things like
That's
that.
right, yeah.
Were you involved on that on the EOD team?
Yeah, I was
or-
on the EOD team for a couple of years there, and that was really good to be a part of it. I suppose a saying my father would have is that if you enjoy your work, you'll never work a day of your life. And I'm very lucky that every day I've got up certain moments when I was in ASSI or NCO courses or standard courses.
Yeah.
But in general, I've been able to get up every single morning, and even my career after the army, thoroughly enjoy my job and everything else. So really enjoy that.
That's good stuff. And did you get overseas then, like as a carpenter or?
Yeah, so look, I would done trip to Lebanon and done as well. But look, I suppose for me, look, I'd have a bang average army career, for being quite honest with you, Conor.
Like myself.
Yeah, bang average. My overseas record wouldn't be anything to kind of the sniff at, I suppose.
Yeah.
I suppose with the position I'm in now and I look at it, I suppose I was probably a little bit temperamental in my youth as well, and probably hard to manage a little bit. The best way to approach. But yeah, got all them experiences as well, Conor. And look, it's all about the people you meet along this journey, isn't it?
Yeah, well that's it as well. Yeah. So a trip overseas to the Leb, and did you go through any like promotional courses or anything? Or?
Yes, look, it's like everything else. It doesn't matter what technical wise what you have is you still have to do the same training as everybody else. So you go done the NCO course in Cottlebrewer, and you're in there with all the knob lads. Look, and we used to have call us Ponties, personnel of no tactical importance. So but I suppose from the infantry guys' point of view, I suppose they didn't realise we went through 3.5 years of this military training, so because it bred into us. I suppose the coaching element. So if from talking to guys I know about being in the battalions, I suppose they are more coached into it and got a natural love of the military training in. Definitely an ace that it was kind of get stuck into you, do you know what I'm saying? So done the NCO course there, and then the very same thing then as well, the very same section commander from the NCO course and then the standard course then in the Curragh then as well. And look, you get to meet all sorts of these guys as well, but I think what you tend to realise is that people have different skill sets, and I think generally there's an appreciation that you've guys from a particular corps will have a particular skill set that will help you out, but by the very nature then as well, we have a particular skill set that can help other guys out as well. So you learn to kind of work together, and kind of the big thing is about networking. Somebody here, somebody there. And,
you get to know a lot of people on those courses then.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I'd still be in contact with a fair few of them guys as well. So, so it's, look, I'm a big believer then about the journey. It's about the people you meet along the journey as much as the journey itself. And I've been lucky to meet some really good people along that journey.
Yeah, definitely. There's some good guys in there.
Yeah. One or two now,
Yeah, one or two. There's a few dodgy ones as well. We'll get into them. But Grant, so you then move into, after you're in the ordnance team for a while in the OD, you move out to the Air Corps then. What's the job out there? Is that
so back in I was in the carpenter's workshop there, and I'd only finished going to my studies then in UCD to do health and safety then as well. So I kind of got into that by accident. I think everybody that's involved in health and safety in accident, and we're going back a little bit, but there was a fire strike at Wexford that the army was involved in, and I got sent on an instructor's course. Like, it wasn't voluntary, by the way, and ended up getting into safety that way. And then fast forward, finished my HDip in UCD and went off to Baldon. So I was originally in the carpenter's workshop there with engineering wing or number 4 support wing, And then I progressed. Then I ended up being the health and safety NCO then in Baldonnel, then the Air Corps.
So you were detailed for a health and safety course for the army, and then you carried on then to do it.
Yeah, I just found I liked it, So like I said, like didn't want to go. I think there was about 4 or 5 from the engineers, and there's a couple of guys from the Navy on it, and really enjoyed it. And I was going around doing courses on fire warden courses and this, and I was saying, I actually really like this, and there's a guy that had only completed a course in UCD, and he was saying, he says, I actually think you should maybe go into this, and I was like, maybe I will, maybe I won't, and then I decided I would, and then says, I really like this. I think I found me. Give it a go. But I think the other side of it as well is and that's probably what's changed a little bit about the Defence Force now, is somebody seen something in me and gave me a chance to better myself and says, you, as I said about doing the courses and understanding people's different skill sets from the different areas, somebody seen something in me and says, look, he's a skill set to maybe go and do that, and that'd be good for him. And I'd be eternally grateful for that, because I got a great opportunity,
Yeah, definitely. And the H-ship then, right? Did you go do that then on your own accord then in the evening time, or was that through the army?
Through the army. So I'd always go, I'd done 24 years. The army educated me, trained me. There's absolutely no way I'd be in the position I was if it wasn't for the army, because that's what they'd done. All the courses that I needed, all the education that I got, and I suppose, all the opportunities I got from the army as well. And I suppose all the skills you learn through that is absolutely immense. But I think I always go looking for the gaps. I'll always want to learn, and if I see a gap in my knowledge, I'll go chasing it. And I suppose I was lucky in the Defence Force to be able to do that. Say, there's a gap in my knowledge, I'll go to Ireland. So there's a gap there, I'll go to the Air Corps.
You can have your pick of the courses or whatever.
That's it. Yeah.
And you decided to leave then after 24 years, right?
Yeah.
Did you have, obviously you had the apprenticeship behind you, and then you had the H-ship then.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were ready then to leave then when 24 was?
I think I'd been brewing on it for a while, and I was kind of like looking at it, and I'm the type of most people that spend a bit of time in the army were fairly driven, with a fairly high work ethic in what we do, and I was kind of looking at the next step for me. And I suppose at the time I was kind of, am I going to make the next step? As I say, I'm always changing the gap, I'm always chasing the knowledge base, and I was looking for the next opportunity and the next gap to go in to take an opportunity. Right. And I was kind of saying, you know what, I don't think it's going to be there. Thought for a while. Initially went out to a role that I knew after about 2-3 weeks didn't suit me, came back in, got all the slagging, and the guys, and that's the advice I give to people, if they're thinking about leaving or whatever, pick the right role. If you decide it's not for you and you have the opportunity to go back, and do it for yourself. So I went back, and then I got a really good opportunity, and I left then and never looked back. As I say, I've seen guys leaving under a cloud or whatever. As I said, I loved every single day I was in it, met some great people, but that stage of my life had kind of finished, and that's the way I looked at Connor.
Yeah, no, definitely. And some lads fall into that trap as well, when they are kind of thinking about leaving, they just decide on a few jobs that they'd possibly be interested in, and they just click apply, and then they get the job, and then they're back there and they're saying, what am I doing,
but I had a kind of plan, and the way I looked at it was, right, what skills do I need to make myself employable, right? Yeah. So, having a health and safety thing was one thing, but it was kind of like, right, if I have manual handling instructor, that's another thing. If I have brace of wheel instructor, if I have this course and that course, that I can train these people up, that means that the prospective company doesn't have to hire somebody external to do that course. Yeah. So I found myself I probably about 11-12 month plan of exactly what I wanted to do, and what qualifications and what stuff I felt to make myself more employable. And then I looked very closely at the opportunities that were out there. I probably, come back to what you're saying, Connor, probably could have taken 4 or 5 roles and probably not have been 100% happy with them.
Okay.
I was very glad with the role that I took in Palace Foods at the time. Okay. It was a great opportunity for me. But you need to be careful with your role selection. But you also need to prepare in advance and upskill yourself and make sure you have the skills that you're going to hit the ground running when you do take that jump. But it's very nerve-wracking, there's no doubt about it.
It's like jumping off a cliff.
Yeah, but it is, because I suppose with the best will in the world, you do become a certain amount of institutionalised, and I think to talk about army personnel being institutional, some of the people I've seen, most institutionalised people I've ever seen, are people that have been in long-term jobs for 30, 40 years and they know nothing else. So I suppose, habits are hard to break, and, I suppose some of my family thought I was mad for leave because I was comfortable and I was grand and I was happy. Yeah. But I think you have to take that chance. If it's for you, if it's for you to stay, at your retirement, that's fine. Yeah. If it's time for you to go, you'll know. I wouldn't let anyone push you out, but exactly. You need to go yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you know when you're in the Air Force still, right? And you went back, you were still doing like 24-hour duties, I presume.
Yeah.
Do you know when you went outside then to the civilian world, right? Was it like a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job that you had, or was it like nights and weekends or shift work?
The health and safety role is never a 9 to 5 job, right? And I suppose all the industries I've worked in have all been 24/7.
Right.
So, there's no downtime in the 3 industries I've worked since. There's no downtime. Now the last 2, it's mainly 24/5 to work, but like you're on. If the SHT hits the fan, you need to be there. You need to be reactive, right. Which is something I always enjoyed. I suppose the older I've got, the less enjoyable I found it. Yeah. But it's just what you take of it. A lot of it is about the team that you have around you. If a really good team around you, you don't necessarily need to have that. But definitely, in first role, within the food service industry, very fast moving, full on. You had to be there. The environment is changing. You're going into the warehouse. The warehouse half an hour ago doesn't look the same way as it did 2 hours ago. Yeah. You're constantly changing and everything else. But I suppose the other thing about the health and safety role is no day is ever the same.
Right. Okay.
Ever. So if you're looking for, consistency and, routine and the whole kind of thing, it's not for you.
I haven't said it's not for you.
It's not for you.
Yeah. Do you know what I found was actually a struggle, right? So when I left, right, I was only thinking about this the other day, right? So when I left, I was in like a Monday to Friday job, right? In recruitment.
Yeah.
And obviously, you're meeting people at night time or whatever to interview them to get them across the line or whatever. But I missed kind of the 24-hour duty. Yeah. But I didn't actually miss the duty itself. Yeah. But I missed kind of the break the next day or the day. That was kind of hard to kind of adjust to working 5 days flat out. Yeah. And then only having the Saturday and Sunday, and then we still have a little bit of work on the Saturday and Sunday. So.
Yeah, and it is and it was good like that as well. And I was involved with refereeing for a while. I was on the League of Ireland panel for a couple of years, and I suppose the Defence Forces gave me the flexibility to have that kind of dual career, and were very good to me like that. There's no way I would have been able to have the role in the League of Ireland and doing this if I was in a civilian job. There's absolutely no way. There's no way that any civilian job would accommodate you. Yeah, by the way, I have to take every Friday off a half day. I might have a day off here, a day off there. And you're right. I suppose them duties that you done gave you that flexibility. And go back to the EOD side of it as well. We done a week on the border.
Yeah.
So originally in Dundalk and then in Gormanstown, which meant you had the majority of the week off the next week. And I suppose at the time I was recently after buying a new house that needed a lot of renovation, so the duties allowed me to be able to do those renovations in the off time as well. But yeah, you're right. But I think the other thing, Conor, as well is you meet all sorts of strange people, right? And when you're stuck in a room for 24 hours or something, you definitely get to know them, you know.
Yeah. I remember being on the central bank one night, right?
Yeah.
And like friends are having a party the following night.
Yeah.
I invited like 3 lads to the party. Yeah, like great fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you do things like that, like you're just sitting on post or whatever for like 24 hours chatting away. Like.
Yeah, no, look, and it's. Yeah, like I think when you're younger, like it didn't bother me, like, you know, the resting off and stuff. Like I found the older I got, like once I hit 30, I was kind of like, it was taking a lot more out of me, the 24-hour duties. Like, but like, look, it was good. Like, do you know what I'm saying? So, it's amazing, great character. Look, if you got on with it, like, if you got on with a good group of lads, like, you know, it was a great time as well. If you got on with a couple of lads who didn't get on with, like, it was a long time, especially like. With the OD guys, like you're on for a couple of days up at the border with lads, you know, it was good, like, you know.
Yeah, it's not good crack. It's hard.
Yeah. Like, I remember one of the guys, you know, had no interest in football and decided, right, I'm going to support the football team, and he says, right, I'm going to support Leeds United now, you know, because he was sick and tired of us all watching the football in you know, in the guard room, and everyone talking about the football and the whole lot. So, right, I'm going to take a team. And Leeds United got relegated that year, so he hadn't the best of luck at that. But look at all that kind of banter and all that kind of crap. But it's definitely very different. Like, it's very dark humour. And I suppose when you come to civilian life and civilian role, you can't have that same black humour. Just don't get it.
Yeah, no, I don't. And you have to be careful as well. But then, right, so. You move out of the army, right, and you go into like the FMCG world, like the fast moving consumer goods, right, and massive warehouse and fast foods, right. I think you've got like 3 or 4 different warehouses all linked together. Yeah. What did you think of like the scale of that? Like, was it like very different, like from what you're doing in the army, or was it more or less the same?
No, like I got first time going in, and you're like looking at the scale of it, and it's the same in every job of being there. You're looking at the scale first, and you're like, wow, do you know?
Yeah.
I suppose there's a little bit of them, with me anyway, a little bit of the imposter syndrome comes in, you're kind of okay. But I suppose once you get over the initial awe of what's going on, you get stuck into it, you get to start being the people around the place. And I suppose I was saying about the work ethic, that's kind of generally people in Defence Force have it within, you get stuck in. I think the biggest thing I would say was the difference between people that have been through the Defence Force and people haven't. We'll do what needs to get done, right? So if the job needs to get done, we'll do it. We've no airs or graces about it, right?
We'll just get
it done. Whereas a lot of others are, well, that's not my job. And I suppose, like, I've managed people since that have been in the Defence Forces, and that's the difference. You just, look, could you do that? You know, yeah, it'll be done. A lot of times it's my job sort of kind of comes into it. And I think you bring that attitude in, it was fine. But it was a big jump, an absolutely massive warehouse. You know, a lot of drivers, a lot of people, and I suppose you have the kind of the different personalities and how they work as well. And look, to be honest with you, Conor, made an awful lot of mistakes as well, I suppose. But you have to learn with them. You have to learn very, very quickly. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. And in general, right, like, what does a health and safety manager do in a warehouse environment? Because that's the majority of your roles have been in warehouse environments now, have they?
No, well, I went to Tato after that, so that was obviously food production, and then I'm in Irish Distillers now, in bottling plant and Fox and Geese. So and look, at warehousing, it comes into site. Look, you're dealing with people an awful lot. So there's kind of 2 trains of thought with health and safety. It's health and safety is a police van that's going to go around, and that will work to a certain extent. But you're not really going to get anywhere. It's about influencing people. You need to be able to get people to take account for themselves, take care of themselves. And I suppose I always preach is that, you know, particularly in industry, people look after, you know, production, and they look after quality. They need to look after safety the same way. You know, people say, oh, health and safety is number one. Is it really? Is it the same as quality? Is it the same as production rates? And really, you should be managing everything together. And the successful companies make sure that that's completely integrated and really is number one, because you look after yourself first. You don't see it as being the health and safety team's job to police health and safety. The health and safety team is there to make sure, to enable guys and give guys the platform to do things as safely as possible, because more often than not, Conor, the safest way of doing things is the most productive way to do things.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself like people trying to do eyes in the air and you see it coming kind of thing, or is that?
Well, that's just my personality. It's not my job. Look, you'll have that. Have that, you know, and you just have to get on with it, you know, and that's it. You just have to kind of wear people down, or you just try to wear people down with me good humour, and look, and it can be frustrating, you know, and I suppose, look, I've been missing the top of my little finger. I cut myself, damaged my finger when I was in Ace, and you know, I'm the kind of perpetual poacher turned gamekeeper if ever there was one. But look, it's a really interesting job, and I suppose it's gone from that very much compliance space where it's all about that enabling, collaborating with people, bringing people along, a lot of coaching, and I suppose, you know, industries have seen the benefit of that. Originally in Palace there was myself and the safety manager who was based down in Newcastle West, and got additional people on and then expanded them as well. And I think, look, I have a team of 5 safety specialists in Fox and Geese now who are absolutely brilliant. So it's gone from that, and I suppose you know what I'd always say to people who comes out in safety, if health and safety is a compliance-based tool that you're using, it's not going to work. It needs about collaboration, influencing people, coaching people, and bringing them along the journey with you. That's what success looks like. You know,
just integrate into the culture.
Have to. And a lot of the time I'll spend just general chatting to the lads and trying to get into their heads and stuff like that. And you know, we're just trying to gradually improve stuff. You know, and having it taken. I suppose the other thing with the side of it as well is you're looking at it holistically, you know, rather than people are in their own little bubble. So if they're in the quality department, they're only thinking of quality. If they're in the transport department, they're only thinking of transport. If they're in the production department, there's health and safety, you have to take the whole lot into account. So a lot of the times we can benefit those guys there about kind of, look, you need to look at the bigger picture here.
And health and safety as a career option, right? Would you recommend like people get into it as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I look at a similar conversation with somebody else at the moment, and like health and safety professionals, they are a premium as regards experienced health and safety professionals at the moment. I think the one change I've seen it is, like I said to you, Conor, I had no intention of getting into health and safety. Somebody sent me on a course and I ended up figuring out then. And most people that say of my era and a little bit younger would all do the same thing. What we're finding now is there's more people, say, from, you know, school leaving age saying, right, I want a career in health and safety, which is fantastic. But I think to be really good at, you need that experience of industry, of being on the job, of knowing what lads are getting into people's heads and knowing what they're going to be doing. And I suppose it comes back to, like, how do you give graduates the experience of that workplace, of being in that person's shoes when they've never been there in the first place. So I think with people in the defence forces in particular, there's so many different aspects of, you know, dealing with people and you're being there yourself, and you can bring them experiences down into this. Look, I think there's 4 guys that I would have kind of followed me up and kind of would have worked with me in health and safety in my time in the defence forces. They've all left. They're all doing really, really well. You know, nobody that's has done kind of health and safety in the defence force in any role and has moved on has, you know, not done well out of it. So yeah, it's a very good career, and you know, the defence force ahead of the game in that they've put a kind of full diploma together in the defence forces, that if you do a certain amount of courses that will set you up and give you an actual qualification, you know, and I think that was very important as well. But yeah, absolutely, it's fantastic. Look, it's fantastic to me. It's been fantastic for me, Conor. and I go back to I 100% wouldn't be in the position I wait until I got the opportunity in the Defence Force to do that. Like,
have you worked with like soldiers in industry since?
So I've had 7 particular guys that I work with as well. Yeah.
All in health and safety? Or
no,
okay.
no, none of them have been health and safety.
Right.
So I went in, and it's been, you know, the night shift manager has been in Defence Forces, or one of the supervisors being in Defence Forces, and you can spot them a mile off.
Yeah.
You know, like it was gas there, like in my new role in Fox and Geese, like there was one of the guys in Vatten there, who the contractor in, and his he goes, yeah man, there, that fella there, the safety manager, is he ex-army? And he says, yeah, he is. How do you know? He says, I know by the gait and the way they walk. And he's right. There's a different way we walk. Do you know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? And the whole thing. And you can spot them a mile off. And like, there's 2 guys that I actually would have worked very, very closely, like in the Defence Force, that I ended up working along with, like, and they hadn't changed a bit. But as I said to you, it's the whole can-do attitude as well. Like, they'll just do whatever needs to be done, you know.
The army as a whole, then, would you recommend that as a career option for someone coming out of school or leaving school?
I think what it's given me, very hard to knock, I suppose. The one thing I would say is it's changed an awful lot over the last couple of years, and I suppose. I think the one thing, there's a lot good about the army. There's a lot needed to change. But I think they need to get back to the skills-based approach, where they start teaching people skills rather than kind of particular things as well. If they go back to that form, I think, absolutely go for it. I think currently there is some challenges with retention and everything, and I think that, Conor, if we're being honest with you, there's a reason for that. But I think you get back to basics, start giving people the skills and the knowledges, to progress and keep moving forward. I think they won't have an issue with that. But I think for me it's been absolutely fantastic.
Would you recommend like someone in your family to join, like that, if they're a bit younger, or would you just talk them through it if they talk things that they're interested? It
depends what they want out of it. So if you've some young fella, so look, my kids. So my oldest daughter's 15. When you see she come around to me and say 3-4 years time, she wanted to join the defence, so I'd ask her what she wants out of it. You know, so what you want out of it. I suppose if you want a career and you want to do a bit of travelling and stuff like that, and that's your aim, absolutely knock yourself out, and that's the way to go about it. If you want a career and there's a particular way you want to go about it, I'd say, well, you're probably better off going this way, or this way to get to that result. So it really depends what the person wants out of it. You know, I think there's a very clear way in where I wanted the trades route, and the army gave me that. And look, we had naval guys in there as well along with us. But I think what's happening now is, okay, the guys are going, they're doing their recruit training, and then they're going into the trade. And I know from talking to guys, what they're finding is that the trade skills are lacking, because they're soldiers first and then they're going in as tradesmen, whereas we were tradesmen first and then. So there's a lacking in skill and there's a lacking of application there as well. I think they need to kind of get that right for it to be back up where it was. But it really, I suppose, it's a career that can offer you and you want it to do.
Yeah, well, that's it. So you can do anything you want.
Like. But genuinely you can, like, you know, and but it's, you know, I think, look, it's all about the mentors and the right leadership you got. So I'm sure somebody, Conor, within your time says, you know, has mentored you and driven you and taken a chance on you and developed you. Do you know what I'm saying? Definitely. It's very much with me the same thing as well. Somebody, I've had some really, really good mentors, and they mightn't necessarily be in leadership roles or whatever, you know, they might have been kind of some of the old privates or whatever, but they've mentored me and kind of guided me the right way, and you need them, you know.
Just someone stay in the right direction, or take you under their wing for a few weeks, and
that's it. That's absolutely You
don't find that much in civilian jobs, I don't find.
No, not to an extent. Now, what I will say is where I'm currently working in Irish Distillers, very much so. It's very much about the coaching, the application, which like really is a breath of fresh air. and to really focus on development point of view as you as a person more so than that now. But it is quite unusual, and I suppose that comes in with the pressure of the bottom line in a lot of cases in a lot of industries. So, but I suppose, you know, the majority of people that are working in Irish Distillers have been working there a long time, and probably the reason they're working there a long time is because they see that development and they put that amount of emphasis in developing the person as an individual, and hopefully that person will go up to the tree. But it is quite unusual to see that coaching. Yeah.
Is it hard to get into Irish Distillers, like from like a recruitment point of view? Like if you wanted a job there, like is it hard to get in?
Yeah, look, they're always looking for good people there. They've a good graduate program there as well. Yeah, they're constantly looking for good staff there as well. But look, at the end of it, and you'll see it as well, Conor, it's very much an employee's market at the moment in time. You know, like you look at it there, and you know, look, I was trying to recruit a health and safety specialist. It was definitely 6 or 7 months before I found somebody, and I suppose with that comes the kind of issue of quality then as well, because obviously the less people out there, kind of that's the way it works like that as well. But yeah, look, it's, I wouldn't say it's easy to get in, but yeah, look, there's opportunities there. Yeah.
I actually have a good health and safety manager, ex-army, on the books. He's available in January.
Oh, very good. But
Grant, look, thanks very much for coming in. Do you have anything else, or are you happy enough?
No, that's me.
I appreciate that.
No bother at all.
It's good to catch up.